All right, thank you so much for staying with the Monday Report. We had asked you earlier on, is it the right time to open schools? At Trevor Mbija at Citizen TV Kenya, use the hashtag Monday Report. I see a lot of your feedback coming through. Let me introduce my guest real fast. Janet Muthoni Ouko, former CEC Education, Nairobi County, is with us. Honorable Wilson Sossion, NAT Secretary General and also a member of the Education Committee at the National Assembly. Zach Kinuthia wouldn't join us today. The cast for education, either he had a change of plan or a change of heart last minute because there were instructions that they shouldn't talk about this now, so he couldn't make it this evening. But let me start with Honorable Sossion on this. Sossion, you know, the CS just said that there was a consensus that was reached. What was reached in the discussion that you were part of?
Yes, thank you, Trevor. And I think this conversation is healthy for Kenyans, and particularly with the most critical sector that has been affected not only in Kenya but globally, the education sector. But as to what transpired in the meeting, I would wish to state here that I don't think it's ethical for me to divulge the details of the discussions. That matter is left to the person of the Minister for Education, Professor George Omore Magoha, who on this very weighty matter is the sole spokesman on any deliberations that arrived at in the meeting. And I would wish to take this opportunity to congratulate him for demonstrating very strong, clear leadership on this particular matter. Okay. But I think where we are at the moment, we can discuss precisely what is prevailing, the figures that you are seeing, and probably the trend and where we are headed. Yeah. But as for the meeting, that one I cannot discuss the details of the meeting. So let's talk about where we are headed to then. Based on the figures that are coming in, are we ready to reopen in January? Whichever the time for reopening, whether it's January or after January or before January, I think it is very clear right from the beginning. If you look at the workings of the Ministry of Education, it is strongly guided by the Ministry of Health and medical advice from the Ministry of Health. And that basically is what is going to determine when schools are going to open. The reason for setting for January is because the peak of this virus was projected to be September, October. And that is why January was set. But of course, you remember the CS themselves said very clearly that is subject to review depending on the trend of the disease and how well the country understands the disease. Yeah. So on whatever the time, I would wish to state that still the committee, the ministry, and the country will be guided by the proper medical advice and report from the Ministry of Health. So it's not a political issue that you can canvass in the media, project in the media, and try to influence in the media or try to discuss in political forums. No, it is a serious health issue. And of course, looking at the guidelines of the World Health Organization is that the positivity rate must fall below 5% for 14 days consecutive, at least. That is, those are the guidelines of indicators of the curve flattening. But I would wish to speak the view of Kenya National Union of Teachers on the trend based on the information from the our medical experts. Remember, we have a full-time medical team that is advising us, that is generating reports, led by Professor Florentius Koech of Moi University. And the Ministry of Health, you have been seeing, you have read figures today. Yeah. And today you are talking about positivity rate of 4% nationally. And I think this data you have recorded over time. Yeah, what you are getting, the national average, the highest ever national average that the country had attained in terms of positivity rate was 13%. And of course, with variations across the country. Mm-hmm. But over the last couple of days, close to 2 weeks, it has drastically come below 5%. Our medical team have confirmed that the positivity rate indeed has come down.
Yeah.
It's very low, and the indicators of the community that the disease prevalence is drastically down.
Okay.
And there are other indicators of the same, that there is a decline in severely ill patients.
Yeah.
Remarkably, severely ill patients, we no longer have a significant number. It has gone down. There is a decline in the demand for bed space for those who are sick. Remember, during July, when it was very cold, almost all the hospitals were full, beds were full to capacity right across the country. But our medical team are telling us that the severely ill patients, they've declined in number.
Okay.
And there is decline in demand for the bed space.
Okay.
And even demand for the ICU.
Yeah.
The ventilators has gone down.
Okay.
These are a combination of indicators. And of course, the views of our medical team, it is not extracted from the blues, but it is extracted from data and realities that are on the ground.
Yeah.
And the Ministry of Education has got a medical team. We also have Kenya Medical Practitioners and Dentist Union.
Okay.
I'm sure they're collecting their views.
Okay.
And looking at all this data that will interact, it is what will inform the next level of activities.
Okay.
And then tomorrow, we woke up and the disease is at zero from this data.
Yeah.
Because then this is now the time, Trevor, that even you, the media, track the trend of positivity rate and other indicators.
Okay.
So don't stick only to the positivity rate. Ask yourself, how many severely ill patients are we getting as a result of this disease? Do we still have demand of this bed space and capacity? And this you will know by visiting the major hospitals that admitted many of these patients and see.
Let's come to the data in
the numbers come down substantially. And therefore, from that point, it shall inform. So it is not something that the minister is going to wake up and make a declaration, or the president is going to wake up and make a declaration.
All right, let's bring in Janet Muthoni on this. Janet, what are your thoughts? Should we reopen schools?
I think, thank you, Trevor, for having me. And the good thing about this is that a lot of us, including our children, the parents, and everybody has been here in this country since the time the case number 1 of COVID was announced. And therefore, discussing this so many months down the line, I think there's a lot of ease, within which people are taking these issues. All of us have walked this journey together. And therefore, discussing this issue now, at least 3 things really the ministry or the government should at least be telling parents today. And one of those things is that we have seen churches, pubs, restaurants, matatus going about business as usual. And therefore the question is, why are we still closing the most critical institutions? Number 2, it is that adults have been let to go about businesses as usual. Yet the children who evidence is showing us that they are not even the spreaders of COVID and they're least affected by COVID are being held at home. What explanation possibly could there be? And finally, we have our neighboring countries that have opened schools. Others did not even close schools. What evidence is Kenya working with to continue closing down schools and really holding the children home, despite overwhelming evidence that there is a lot of risk and there are lots of dangers, and even undoing the gains that we have made? That the 6 months closure that children have been home, there is a lot of damage that is doing to our children. There's a lot of resources that is going down the drains. And therefore, this calls for us to really be guided by the evidence that is coming out. There's a lot of evidence that is being shunned by CDC. So what is evidence telling us? And clearly, evidence is telling us that opening schools is not as risky as holding children at home. So I think tonight, for me, my position is that we should open schools. And of course, because the international community has been generous enough to even guide, there's a lot of technical support that has come to governments, including, step-by-step ways as to how we can open schools and still ensure that we remain safe. So what I'm expecting is to hear, in that framework that has been given to countries and that guidance, how many steps have we walked as a country so that we cannot studying, we cannot keep really children at home, and there is no tangible explanation that is coming out as to we are going to open either in, but because we have taken A, B, C, D, steps to try and ensure that at least even if we open, the children will be safe.
Yeah. Janet, are you selectively reading this evidence? Because some of the medics say it is part of a working system that has made these numbers come lower, because places like Israel are going back to lockdown.
I will throw back the question to you, Trevor, because the same parents we see in political rallies are coming back home. So how safe are the children? The same parents who go to churches, the same parents that go to the pubs are the same people that come back home. So why are we holding a particular cross-section of people and releasing others who research and evidence is showing us that adults are even the ones that are more susceptible to COVID, and they're the worst spreaders of COVID?
All right, let's bring in Honorable Sosion on this. Honorable Sosion, are you satisfied with the ongoing preparation for schools reopening? We saw the other day the CS looking at desks. Is that where the priority should be, or should it be on classrooms?
Yeah, it doesn't matter whether it is on the desk, it is on considering the social distancing and all other things. But the thing is, the principle is we must ensure that schools are ready to receive children. And that is the key preparation that we need. That's the solidarity that we need in this country. And that is the support that the ministry needs. But I think what is very critical, as I've said, once there is evidence that the curve has come down, then I think it will not be necessary anymore to hold the children at home. But then there are key primary issues that needs to be done. And as you've heard, countries like Israel are now experiencing a spike in the disease. Israel and the UK, and they might get back to square one. So this is a disease, it's a very virulent disease that we cannot play with at the moment. So even as we prepare to resume schools at whatever time, there are very basic things that must be ensured that are in place, like ensuring continued hygiene measures. These are things that must be done. And we are satisfied that the ministry has capacity to ensure that these particular measures are put in place, because largely why the curve is likely to be flattened in Kenya is because Kenyans have responded to the protocols of the Ministry of Health. Now, even in the rallies that we are seeing crowds, but with masks. And I think that is something that's commendable, that even if sometimes you cannot limit yourself in terms of social distance, put on the mask all the time. There are things that we may not be able even to deal with when we get down to schools. Evidence has shown that all over the world, you may not even deal with what you call social distance. But I think that practical, irreducible measures that have to be put in place, which doesn't require much, like continued sustenance of hygiene measures. That is hand washing, sanitizing. It is basic. Every school must prepare. It can be done. It is cost effective. And the other aspect is masking the children and masking the learners. That one has to be in place. And we think because of these basic things that must be done, and they have to be done, and these are protocols that have been laid out by the World Health Organization, and the ministry has given it a lot of concentration. Yeah. We don't think that is really a huge, big challenge. If we talk of infrastructure, yes, it's a big issue, but are we going to build 3 times the classrooms within a space of a month or 2? In the long run, we may need to reduce the class sizes. But then that is a long-term investment. We must think of innovative solutions, like we've seen in Europe and in the North. Some of the classes are conducted even outside classrooms, where teachers really hold learning activities in the open. And probably with COVID, we need to be more innovative. And therefore, these are the measures that we got to look at and crack our heads extremely hard, so that we don't get mired and confused in, we want to build so much classrooms, we want to do so much against the constraint of resources that are really available.
Okay.
Practically, if the curve is flattened today, we cannot sit and stay at home because we are waiting for classrooms to be constructed. No, we shall have to seek for what works and what works best and make it work best while maintaining very serious hygiene measures and ensuring that we reduce student-to-student contact and we deal with spiking cases or cases that occur during teaching and learning. Because we might have one or two outbreaks in our respective institutions. And I think the focus of the country should not be on the politics of COVID. The focus of the country should be on what can be done that can ensure that we can have safe resumption. And I disagree. We cannot argue that we don't have any tangible reasons why schools have been closed. It is safer to keep the children home. Let other sectors, they have opened most of them. But I think where we are now, there are preparations that every school must actually meet. And this can be done. And I'm convinced the ministry and the minister has capacity to do this. And therefore, we should take our minds now to preparing the schools, preparing the stakeholders. And I wish to say, as teachers, we have been ready, and we stated categorically that we are waiting for the curve to flatten. And we have evidence. I've stated we have a team of medical experts, and the data is coming out. We are continuing to analyze, and we believe, because data which is real will be reflected at the Ministry of Health, will be reflected also at the KMPDU and other experts. And I am convinced the minister is doing a good job, and at the right time that the certain activities and frameworks will be put in place. The minister will pronounce them, and when schools will be open, that is his mandate.
All right, hold that thought. Let's bring in an actual classroom teacher. Honorable Sosion, hold that thought. Let's bring in Otoa Sifuna, who's a teacher. He's joining us on phone. He's a teacher at the M-Pesa Academy. Otoa, are you ready for school?
Trevor, good evening. How is you, Trevor? Are you getting me?
We are good, yes. We can hear you loud and clear.
Oh, very well, very well. I have listened very keenly to the sentiments of my very good Secretary General, Nat Wilson Sosion, and my sister, Janet Ouko.
Yes.
I must say, as a teacher, yes, Sosion has captured it. We are ready to resume school on condition. Trevor, the question we are now leveraging on is not the question of if and when. It is a question of preparation. Carry out any reconnaissance visit to any school, Trevor, now. If it is indeed true what Professor George Mago has said today, the level of preparedness, the level of preparation of our schools to reopen, Trevor, still remains in limbo. Go to any state school now, it still remains bushy, it still remains in a very sorry state. The very basic health protocols that even Wilson Sosion has touched on. Are we having sanitizers when our children come en masse? Are we having basic equipment such as thermometers at the gate to test teachers, students, and even any other stakeholder that comes into the school? There were very good proposals that were put forward, Trevor. The question of having even to test teachers and school and students before they resume, that has not happened. So I'm really looking at this as a very big mileage on the side of the government, because the government is a very big bankroller of the education sector in this country. Recently, they advertised almost 15,000 teachers to come and add to the number of us who are already into the system teaching.
Okay.
That, I think, is the very fairest of all, should be a fast-track idea so that these 15,000 teachers can come quickly to actually reinforce the number. And Trevor, you do not live in Israel or you do not live anywhere outside of this country. The ratio of teacher to learner pupil in this country is too big. And therefore, we cannot practically talk of social distancing. We cannot, yes, we can say, as Osion puts it, we can look at innovative ways. But as long as we do not have the required number of teachers who can offer this self-learning, because I'm actually referring to it as self-learning because it is a different norm in which we are going to do things. Trevor, when the curve flattens, it does not mean that it will flatten or remain where it is. You have just given the scenario, the case scenario of Israel and even the UK. We as the Kenyan educational fraternity, what measures are we going to put on the ground to ensure that when our learners come, and some of this is going to be a very precarious situation. You can imagine even in the pre-learning department, how are these learners going to observe these protocols? So I'm talking about even massive education, civic education. So for Janet Ouko to purport that because parents are attending political rallies without masks, the learners must also follow suit, or they must. I like it that the politicians have kept the question of school reopening and the health protocols out of it. And I really salute, for the first time, the sanity portrayed by our Kenyan politicians. But my worry, Trevor, will be if we reopen schools tomorrow, next week, or even next month. What measures are we going to put on the ground that we do not have a surge? Because schools are social groupings. There's a lot of social groupings within our school components, Trevor.
Loud and clear.
We cannot check that. That can be a time bomb.
Thank you,
and
Otoa.
When the second spike hits, it will actually come from the
We've
school.
heard you loud and clear.
One, the level of education. Two, the level of preparation. And three, massive investment in this area.
Thank you, Otoa. That's Otoa Sifuna speaking to us on phone. Janet, you're the one who was mentioning that we should open school, and you've heard the reasons why Otoa is saying we should not. How do you even address the teacher-student ratio as we speak? How do you address social distancing in schools as we speak?
Thank you very much, Trevor. And I want to say that problems of the education sector have not begun with COVID. And therefore, we cannot say that we are going to first solve all the problems we had since independence and just heap them on COVID and just now start putting restrictions that for us to open this and this has to happen. I think that is going to be very unfair. And two, we cannot argue with evidence. We cannot argue with evidence. And what is evidence telling us? It is simple. Children are not the drivers of this pandemic. And it is and the evidence is there. That is what the World Health Organization is saying. And we really cannot be able to argue with evidence. And we also want to make a case for children, because when we make cases for adults, children are not on the table. But can we make a case for these children? And let us say, the more we continue keeping these institutions closed, and especially without tangible evidence, without where we are coming from, we are not going to see.
All right. Janet, we seem to be, we have lost Janet there for a bit. We need to take a quick break here on Monday Report. When we come back, we're still asking you whether it is time to reopen schools. And I see a lot of feedback coming through here. Ibrahim from Masai Mara University says, I support the proposed resumption for studies made today, basically because so far everyone is equipped with ways of handling COVID-19. Let's see here. Humphrey Onyango says, Trevor, let them begin afresh. As stated earlier, my worry is that we are going to lose many of our students. Let's see what else you're saying here. Geoffrey Mwanzia says after the political rallies we've witnessed recently, it makes no sense to continue keeping learners at home. It is illogical for the government to think that BBI rallies are more organized than lecture sessions. Let's read another one here. Susan Kangui says the question is, are the parents ready for these children? They need now new pairs of school uniform. They also need shopping and all that. Are the parents ready? That is the question Susan Kangui is asking. And also Sagide Musumba says based on the political atmosphere in the country, the rallies, the government should consider opening schools. They're delaying the students while they continue with their political agenda. We're taking a quick break here on the Monday Report. Keep your views coming. Use the hashtag Monday Report at Trevor Mbija at Citizen TV Kenya. I'm airing some of your views that came through on video right next. All right.